Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Jean Umberto. In this video, we are going to take a look at object, and I'm going to explain the meaning of an object in a program and why it is very important for you as a programmer to understand this concept and to start using object in your program. Okay, so before you continue watching this video, I'm going to assume that you understand certain things in programming. For example, you understand the notion of data types in JavaScript. For example, you know the difference between a string and a number, and you also understand what we mean by the Boolean data type. The second thing I'm going to assume is that you understand basic operators in JavaScript, and that will be groups of operators such as the arithmetic operators like your addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or even the modulus operator, and then other operators such as the assignment operator and the group of comparison operators such as the equal operator, the not equal, the greater, lesser, greater or equal, lesser or equal. And I also spoke about the unary operator in one of the previous videos where I was explaining about loops, and that will be the plus plus and the minus minus. That will be the increment and decrement. So it's very important for you to be able to explain or use these basic operators in your program. Now, last but not least is understanding the use of variable and how we assign values to variable. And remember, the most important thing to keep in mind is that we can only keep one value inside a variable. That is what we call a single value storage. And here's an example of a simple variable, that is var first day, and we have assigned the value Monday, which is of string type. You can see it inside the quotation marks. So we also looked at arrays, and I'm sure by now you have the basic idea of how to create an array, whether you want to use the constructor or you want to use the square bracket. So you should be able to create your own arrays, and also to access one element out of the array, or using a loop to access everything inside the array. Okay, so now let us look at what an object is. And please do not be puzzled, do not be surprised if I tell you that even some of the variable that you have created before could be object. For example, in this example, var first day is assigned the value Monday. Here Monday is a string, and a string is an object. We'll take a look at that in one of the subsequent videos. And even the array variable that you created earlier was also an object. Like I said, an array is an object, and here we can see we have that variable again here, weekdays, and it of course points to a list of days in a week. So what is an object? Let us think about real world objects like your cell phone, or a car, or TV, radio, and so forth. Now all these are objects, and they do have particular characteristics. Here's an example. Your cell phone. Your cell phone has a number of things that it can do, and that is known as the behaviors of your cell phone. For example, your cell phone can ring, or it can vibrate, it can take a picture, or it can switch on or switch off. Okay, you can restart your phone, and so many other actions that your phone can perform. Now all these are the behaviors of the phone. Apart from the behaviors, your cell phone also has its own attribute. For example, your phone has a model. When you go to the shop to buy a phone, or you're looking around, you basically know what you're looking for, and we don't usually make mistakes when we are going to buy a phone, because we know exactly the model that we are looking for. That is one example of an attribute. Your cell phone also has an operating system, the name of the operating system. For example, Android. Now your cell phone also has the year it was made and the country where it was made. Now all these are examples of a cell phone attributes. Now if you think about the behaviors of a car, for example, you can start a car, you can actually brake, that is stopping it, you can turn, reverse, and so on. And your car may also have attributes such as the model of the car, the year where it was made, and I'm gonna leave you with some time to complete other attributes or even behaviors of what a car may have. Now, in programming, objects build on similar ideas, the same ideas that we just looked at about a cell phone or a car are applicable to programming. So in programming, we also have what is known as an object, which is basically a component where we can store the behaviors and the attribute of what we perceive or what we want to create as an object. And for example, if you want to create an object student, you can think about what a student can do at school, and that will be the behaviors of that particular student. And if you think about the attribute of the student, for example, every student has a name, and the student will have the country where they come from, they will have the date of birth, a gender, and so forth. So all those are examples of a student attribute that you can store inside a student object. And for behaviors, you may think about a student enrolling in a course. A student may enroll in a course. A student may deregister from the university, and there are so many other things that a student can do at school, like write exam, and so all those are the behaviors of a student, and you can store both the behaviors and the attribute inside that particular object. So what is the most important thing about using object? One of the benefits we get by using object is its reusability. So when we have an object, it is easy to reuse it anytime we need it. For example, if a dog is an animal, because a dog is an animal, and we think of it as an object, and then we also think about a cat as another object, because the cat is also an animal, chances are these two share some similar characteristics. So for example, they can both run, sleep, eat, they both have a color, breed, and so forth. Now, instead of rewriting the same characteristics every time we have a new animal in our program, we can simply reuse the animal object, because we know that animals have these characteristics already shared, or these common characteristics, and we can also add particular characteristics to a new animal which is kind of distinct from others, or we can even override existing characteristics just to reflect some specifics about the new dog, or the new cat, or the new monkey, or the new lion object. Whatever it is that we want to create, we can actually reuse the animal object that probably pre-existed in our program. Okay, so now let us have a look at some important terminology and the types of object. The first thing I want to mention is that you might come across the word field instead of attribute, or you may see words such as properties or state. I want you to know that these all point to the very same thing. These are variables that are defined within the object itself. Okay, and we are going to be using the word methods a lot. So methods are used instead of the word behaviors. So instead of saying this object has this behavior, we simply say that this object has this method. So these are basically actions that are performed, or that can be performed right from that particular object, and of course they are also defined within the object itself. Okay, so methods are the same as functions. If you are familiar with functional programming or how to create functions, methods are basically functions. The difference is that these methods are defined within the object itself, and in most programming languages this will be within a class. Okay, so the other important term to look at is instantiation, or instantiating an object, or an instance of an object. So when we reuse the object, we're generally instantiating it. So we want to reuse the object. In programming, we simply talk about instantiating the object. So now we have an instance of that object. And we generally use the new keyword followed by the object constructor. And don't worry about constructors right now. Every time you use the new keyword, you are actually indicating that you want to use a particular object. And here's an example. var weekdays, and you can see here after the assignment operator we are simply saying new array. So here the word new here indicates that we are pointing to an existing object, and of course the name of the object is array, and this becomes the constructor which gives us access to that particular object, that array object, of course. So once we assign new array, the variable that is pointing to this object, for example here the variable is var weekdays. So now this variable is now able to reuse the members, and members refer to the method, and of course we spoke about method being the behaviors and the attribute of the object. So now our variable here is able to access these members of this particular object. Now I want to also mention that not all objects can be reused or accessed using the new keyword, and I'm not going to discuss about static members in this video, but you just have to know that not all objects will accept the new keyword to access them. So how do we access the object members? The first thing is you have an instance that you have created. Okay, you create an instance of an object that you want to reuse using the new keyword, and this is applicable in Java, JavaScript, PHP, C#, C++, and other object-oriented programming languages. And so here's an example again. Here we are creating an empty array here. Okay, so that is var weekdays, and you say is assigned new array, and now this is empty. As you can see, there is nothing inside here. There's no element inside that constructor. And after we do that, we now can access the method or the field of this object just simply by using a dot. So we'll say, for example, here weekdays dot reverse. That is weekdays here, our variable, and we'll say dot reverse. Here we assume that reverse is a method that is defined or that is available within the array object. So don't forget, we use a dot to access an object members. So what are the different types of objects that are out there? So you first of all have objects that come with the language. For example, if you're writing a Java program, you have object that comes with Java. JavaScript has a number of objects that comes with it, and of course we are looking at the array object here, and later on we are going to look at the string object, and in one of the future video we're going to talk about the date object. So there are many objects that comes with JavaScript as well. PHP has its own object, C#, and so forth. Now, so that is the first type of object. These are built-in, they come with the language. And the second is, of course, custom or user defined. These are objects that you as a programmer define. So now we are going to finish the discussion by the concept of object-oriented programming. Every time you use object, you are actually involved in OOP, or object-oriented programming. And there is a number of languages which support object, and of course JavaScript is one of them. And in most OOP languages, the source of object is generally a class. So you basically create a class in which you are going to define all the members, your methods and fields or properties. And now if somebody wants to reuse that class, they are now reusing the object itself. JavaScript is an OOP language, but does not use the concept of classes like many other languages such as C#, Java, PHP, and but it has the idea of prototype. And I think in one of the future videos we are going to take a moment to look at the idea of prototype and prototype chaining. In JavaScript, we can create our own object simply by using the curly braces And we can also use the new keyword and the object constructor. And we'll talk about this much later. But here's an example down here. var student, and we say is equal or assigned, and you can see we simply open a curly brace and closing it again. So this is an empty object. Remember, for arrays we use a square bracket. Now we're using a curly brace here. This is simply to say it is an empty object. Now if you want to create a car object, you could say something like var car, and you say equal, and then here we have new object. So this is again another way to create a new object. So whichever way you feel is okay, with you, you're welcome to adopt it. In conclusion, objects are a gateway to understanding OOP, or object-oriented programming. In the next video, we are going to take a look at arrays as object and how we can reuse the array object and access its methods and properties. Thank you for watching.